First, Mo Lovatt, National Coordinator for Debating Matters and producer at the Academy of Ideas. Mo, good afternoon to you.
Hi there, Ian. Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. You know, I said at the very beginning on my intro to all of this, it's utterly bizarre the more you think about it. It's bizarre, it's bonkers, but it's really disappointing that here we are in the 21st century, even discussing the rights of free speech.
Absolutely. I mean, the idea that what we say can be governed by law or the government is just, you know, it's just an anathema. I find it completely bizarre. But I think you stole my opening line, actually, because what I was thinking about is, you know, when the Labour government, the first thing Bridget Phillipson did when she came into office was to repeal this law, or she calls it pausing it. But I mean, she was saying she was likely to repeal it at the time, because she called it a Tory hate charter, which tells you everything you need to know if you didn't already about Labour's attitude towards free speech. We know that they're not a friend of free speech. However, it's easy to be cynical, but I would broadly welcome this reintroduction of the bill. And I think, as your tagline says, you know, the fact that these 700 academics responded so angrily to the potential repealing of the law is very, very important. Nobel Prize winners, you know, academics like Richard Dawkins, high-profile figures. I think that's put a lot of pressure on the government. And I think if you think about how intransigent Labour have been in terms of like the farmers' stuff, the winter fuel allowance, all those sorts of things, this is the first time you can actually say, okay, maybe they've had pressure from outside, from the population, and they're about to make a U-turn. Obviously, the Free Speech Union have been threatening legal action as well, or they've initiated that. I think the other thing is as well, I mean, I know when the Labour first announced they were considering repealing it, you know, the Guardian were in favour, the Telegraph were angry about it. And that's sort of usual and predictable. But what's interesting today is we've got a third broadsheet now, the Times, which is backing the bill very much and backing free speech as well. So the fact you've got another serious paper kind of coming down, not just the usual suspects, about, you know, the need to protect free speech.
Sure.
The devil will be in the detail, and we'll find out at 2 p.m. I'm interested to know if they're going to do more than just protect free speech. The original bill had to promote free speech. I haven't seen any reference to that yet, but it's very, very important, as your listeners rightly point out, that we have a society where we can feel free to express our ideas. And universities, after all, are a great training ground for young people to develop their thoughts and ideas. Self-censorship is a big issue, you know.
I mean, you would think as well, Mo, I know this has been said a gazillion times, I'm not saying anything new here, but, you know, when it comes to places where you should be able to express ideas that are either contentious or controversial or sometimes unpopular, you know, the one place, it's like a family fortunes question, isn't it? Name one place where you can have controversial discussion. Universities, top answer. That's what you might think, and yet we've arrived, there's a very antithesis of that in a situation where there are mobilised groups who have very loud voices and with degrees of success have managed to cancel people as from lists that differ from names like Peter Tatchell to Jermaine Greer, for goodness sake. You know, I don't think you hardly call either of those two mad right-wingers, for goodness sake. You know, one, the most famous feminist on the planet, if you like, apparently not feminist enough for some universities.
I mean, you know, when I first heard that she'd been cancelled, Jermaine Greer, I was like, how can you do that?
That's a joke, right? You'd think it was a joke.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this bill initially was in response to some of this no platforming in the cancel culture, particularly, as listeners have pointed out, around gender issues, but also there's other things, climate change. There's been things about race and EDI policies kind of hammered down upon. So I think it's really good that we're looking at this again, and that broadly there's been a national conversation, because the law in itself or regulations in itself don't guarantee free speech. We need to inculcate a culture where young people and, you know, everybody, but in this instance young people, feel that free speech is a very important right that they must defend, and that's not always the case. I mean, I work with Debating Matters, as you said in your introduction. I know 16 to 18-year-olds have got strong opinions. They're good at arguing. They can do reasoned debate and all the rest of it. But one of the problems on university campuses has been this issue of self-censorship for fear of being ostracized by peers, fellow students. So I think the fact that we are having this wider debate, not just the change in the law, hopefully, but that we are really sort of reasonable voices as well, because like you say, it's so often, quite often the wokish left will say it's about hate speech and, the far right wanting to be able to platform their views. The wonderful thing about free speech is it's also the right to argue back, and we need to practice that.
Yeah, it's not even hard to understand that, which is the bit that I kind of really struggle with. Listen, Mo, let's speak again. Great to have you on with us. We'll wait and see what happens with Phillipson. Mo Lovatt is from the Academy of Ideas. Let's speak with Connie